Stay busy.
Right. So I am very fortunate again to have my dad, and he was like, I need an exchange deal for like this money that I'm exchanging out of this other deal. And I said, okay, let me
so
look.
he sells a deal and he wants to put it into another deal.
He's like, let me exchange. And I said, okay. And so the first deal that I did was a deal down here in South Florida.
Oh, love that.
That we exchanged into, and we set up this agreement. So I did all the work, I did all the asset management, like MRK did, but then we had an agreement that I would buy him out in the future when the deal was ready to be syndicated, i.e. putting tax exempt bonds and all that stuff.
So was it a development deal or?
No, it was an existing senior deal.
Okay.
And it was
like seniors living?
Yeah, not like assisted, just you know,
55 plus?
55 plus.
Yeah.
And so we bought that.
Where was it in South Florida?
It was up north.
Okay.
It was in Deerfield.
Okay, Deerfield. Yeah.
And so we did that. We bought it, and then a couple years ago.
How big was it? 5 million, 30 million?
I think it was 14 million.
Okay.
Something right around there. I think that number's right.
Was it like a value add type of play, or just like, hey, it's a newish built deal and we need to kind of park money there?
So it had upside because they weren't taking advantage of the tax exemption. Okay. So there's a senior tax exemption for affordable housing. And so basically he 1031 into the deal. Then we got the exemption and paid attention to what was happening at the deal. And so it cash flowed. Yeah. And then again, the agreement was always we would buy him out. So we did that, and we effectuated that probably 5 years ago. Okay. And so then we bought him out, and it became a tax credit deal for us. So that was really my first deal, and technically he made it possible. But yeah, that was.
And then so that was in South Florida.
Yeah.
And then do you just have like a national purview, or you're like, hey, I really like these 1 or 2 markets? How do you kind of think about that? Like, I guess like what was the strategy of MRK after that? First deal.
So the strategy is like very knowledgeable about location. And so for me, it was SoCal, where I was based, NorCal, where I could easily get to, and I understood the market. Then it was DC Metro, where I had grown up, because again, really knew that market.
For sure.
And then it was down here because my dad was down here.
Got it.
And he taught me about location. So I trusted him to go and look at stuff, or be here in case there was an issue down here. Yeah. And so it was South Florida. So that's really how, you know, we expanded presence. We've gone to a couple other locations since then, but we either have local partners there or have really gotten up to speed on the market.
Got it. And then right now, when you've got this, you know, call it 6,000 unit portfolio, where is it sort of allocated more or less, you know?
It's pretty much half and half between West Coast and East Coast, with probably about 2,500 to 3,000 units in South Florida.
Got it. Oh, really?
Yeah, okay, we have amazing. A really good presence here. And then when I moved here in 21, that was really, we opened an office in Boca. So we have an office in Boca and LA because we were continuing to grow out this office here, and because we continue to have a larger presence here.
That's phenomenal. So with the tax credit stuff, affordable development, what I have sort of noticed, and I'm curious if this is like true, is that when an affordable developer is like applying for tax credits, or for a deal, you know, it's a public application. So then other developers can see the application you posted and can see the land that you're trying to buy and build, and also how you're trying to build it, because it's a public application. So your biggest competitor can then go see your submission and not only sort of steal it if you don't get your money, and then next year they can go and like try to do it but better, but also poke holes into your submission. Like, it's pretty cutthroat in that sense. Is that all true?
So yes, I would say that, like, where you see the poke holes, that's like the 9%. That's very competitive.
You see, okay, you're like, I'm good, guys.
That's the 9% where it's very competitive. That is really a Florida thing. I don't see that kind of stuff in other states. Yeah, no.
Have to be Florida people.
It's crazy. So everyone's like, hey, you did that wrong. You shouldn't get your points. I should get your allocation.
And they'll go and like, you know, snitch, you know, pretty much.
It's crazy.
No way.
We don't
what
have
is something that, you know, maybe not to a project you did, but what's something that someone got wrong? Is it just like, oh, the setbacks, or like kind of what's...
So your goal with the 9%, because it is a finite number of credits, is to get allocation. And so if anyone has a better score than you want to bump them off, right? So that you go up in the line. So it doesn't matter. It could be you didn't submit that letter that you had to submit. It could be your setbacks are wrong, so your project won't work. It could be you filled this out the wrong way.
Like even petty stuff.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
So again, if you don't play in that space, I'm not all about that. I don't really understand that. I don't know that that's fair. I think it makes it very difficult for like smaller shops who don't have 8
all
million
the resources
people reviewing these
I've seen these
applications.
submissions. They're massive.
Totally. Now in the 4%, everything is public and you can, everything's shared, but it's not like that, right? Because the 4% isn't competitive. The bonds are competitive. And most of the time they're really not competitive because there usually is allocation again. With a
and
few
does that
exceptions.
allocation change from municipality to municipality? Like, are you basically in a position where you say, we really like and want to do more deals in Deerfield than in Pompano Beach because we know them and we have a better relationship there? Like, give me some of the competitive advantages and edges.
It's county based. So the way that the bonds get allocated is by population. So they get allocated down to the states, and then the states allocate them. They either keep the allocation or they allocate them to either housing authorities, right, or other larger entities within the state. So essentially, that's the play. So in California,